Welcome to the 2019 Cedar Hill Chamber of Commerce Mayor's Candidate Forum.
Okay, very quickly, for even sakes, I have randomly chosen a number between 1 and 5 to see who goes first. So, 3. Number is 2. And you can see it right there if you want a question. All right. So, yeah, you're going to give your 3-minute introduction, and then Steve will give his 3 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you so much for coming tonight. My name is Jami McCain. I'm running for mayor of Cedar Hill. If there's one thing the 13 candidates agree tonight on, it is how important you are to us. So we thank you for coming, we thank you for staying, and we thank you for your time and questions. It's been my pleasure for the past 14 years to serve the city of Cedar Hill. 7 of those years on city council and 7 before that, giving everything I could to help make this a better city. I am passionately committed to looking for innovative, cost-effective solutions to things that make our lives better each and every day. I do that by listening, learning, and then leading. I listen to my neighbors, I listen to citizens, I listen to concerns, I listen to outside trends that will affect our city, outside things that will affect us as we go forward. I listen to a still small voice that guides me each and every day. And then I learn everything I can. I learn facts, I learn opinions, I reach out to people that I haven't heard from yet to ask them to share with me a perspective that I haven't seen before. I learn what our legal parameters are as city leadership. I learn the ordinances that will apply to that. I learn the cost associated with whatever we would want to do. And then I lead with the best decision I can with that, with what's in front of me. Sometimes leadership looks like championing an idea or an organization that is already in place. Something brilliant that someone else is working on that I can put my strength behind. Sometimes leading looks like simply saying, I stand for what's right. Sometimes leading looks like asking the staff to revamp and take a different look at something so that we can approach it from a different vantage point, a more effective vantage point. Here's a great example. We have a neighborhood grant for many years that we've been using in this city, but we realized that those tax dollars maybe weren't being exactly as efficiently spent as possible. So I began to ask the neighborhoods the best way we could do that. And then I asked staff, and we went to the table, we revamped that. And then I approached council about revamping that grant so it was most cost effectively spent for our citizens, by our citizens. This is what I enjoy doing. This is my passion. So whether it is bringing young adults to downtown, helping get striping on Cedar Crest down Capricorn, meeting with Bruce Anderson, I saw him earlier, about helping increase the bilingual opportunities in our city, or whatever that is, I'm passionate about listening, learning, and leading. I feel that I'm qualified for this. It's been my life's goal to give myself to people. My husband and I have been pastors for 26 years now, been in the people business for a long time. I'm passionate about the city, I'm committed to the city, and I would hope and ask for your vote.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Steve Mason, and I am the mayoral candidate for the city of Cedar Hill. Whenever I had meet and greets, we always start out with a prayer. So allow me to say I would like to thank my Lord and Savior for me to have the ability to be here today. Next, I'd like to acknowledge my wife. She's here with me. Thank you for being here, Don. My mom is also here. She's a 25-year educator here in the city of Cedar Hill. I'm in Cedar Hill Independent School District, and also my sister is here as well. She also served here in the Cedar Hill Independent School District. So I've been in Cedar Hill for 25 years. Graduated Cedar Hill here. After I graduated Cedar Hill, I got actively involved with the Cedar Hill Chamber of Commerce. Then it ended up being in position for me to be the chairman for the Cedar Hill Chamber of Commerce. While serving on Cedar Hill Chamber of Commerce, I've also served on Planning and Zoning Commission. I want to give back to my community directly with the city, as the city has also been there for me and my family. So while I served on Planning and Zoning Commission, I've also became the chairman for the Planning and Zoning Commission. After my 4th year on Planning and Zoning Commission, the opportunity came for me to run for city council back in 2010. So I have served as your city council member for the last 9 years, And the last 3 years, I have been appointed by my peers to be the mayor pro tem, which I preside the meetings in the absence of the mayor, and also I go to any functions to be the second biggest ambassador for the mayor. A couple of things I want to tell you about my platform. I'm for strengthening neighborhoods. While serving on the city council, there was the library board used to always come before the city council and asking for the library. And then friends of the library always would come and say, hey, when are we going to expand the library? But one thing that I would like for us to be able to have is a committee from our seniors. Our seniors does not have a voice for us to come and speak before us. Earlier today, something was brought to my attention. Actually, last week, something was brought to my attention. I immediately got up on the phone and I called some dignitaries to come to Permitter Middle School that I was actually in middle school at, and told us that there are kids getting in trouble after school, thinking just because they're out of school, not on school property, that they won't get in any serious trouble. So I was asked to be able to come and speak before our kids, and I did that. And I also just shared that I was also there, and also gave some examples about what you should do and some trouble that you can also get into. I'm saying that to say, as the next mayor, we are just as strong as our city, as just as our school district. And I would love to be able to be that bridge to be able to connect the two. It is critical that we have a superintendent vacancy right now. I would love to be able to work with the school board and the members of the school administration to be able to work together along with the city. Again, I'm Steve Mason. I'd love to be your mayor. Thank you.
And what we're going to do now is individual 1-minute questions, beginning with Steve. All right, Steve, first question is, please state in detail, what would you do differently than our current mayor?
Well, look, let me first say, Rob Frankie served us, for a very long term, and he has served us well. I think there's a lot of things that he has also set in place. For example, he has a mayor team council. He also has mayor prayer breakfast. I go beyond our borders here in the city of Cedar Hill, and I represent the city. So I also hear about a lot of the good things that we do here in Cedar Hill that other cities wish that we can also have. So I don't necessarily think that there's a lot that we can be able to do. However, we can always enhance things that we are doing here in Cedar Hill. So as it relates to what I would do different, what I would like to do different, I already mentioned about getting engaged with schools, work with the community in order to try to make our city better. So.
I'm going to talk fast. I am so grateful for all the years of service for Rob Frankie, and Cedar Hill is strong enough to have life after Rob Frankie. We will show and we will be strong. One of the things that I will do as mayor is increase the influence of our city regionally. I believe that Cedar Hill needs to be the hub of a wheel. I'm already on the Best Southwest board, and I am honored to serve along with the other mayors and leaders of Best Southwest. But I've also begun a relationship with the mayor of Mansfield and the mayor of Midlothian. Well, the number of the candidates running, because I believe it's important that we are the hub of a wheel, that we have a gravity of our city that draws people to us, whether that's economically, with tourism, to live, whatever that is, that we keep Cedar Hill strong.
What is your specific plan to maintain the vision to keep Cedar Hill a premier city?
As I mentioned, regional hub and influence. I think it's important that we take a strong look at the budget that we have ahead, especially with the legislative challenges. As the economy may go up or may go down, we have to be prepared to know what's important, what we're going to spend on. We have to stay safe. We have to stay strong. Our neighborhoods have to stay strong. It's why we have to look for those creative opportunities to find those solutions. It's important that we engage our churches, our nonprofits, are keeping an eye on our neighborhoods, investing in our kids. Our churches need to be investing in our schools and giving back. They're great churches, and we just need to make sure that we engage them going forward.
What specific plans to maintain, or what are your specific plans to maintain the vision to keep Cedar Hill a premier city?
So, as mayor, regardless how the election is going to turn out, we are actually going to have a majority new council. So 4 new seats is going to be on the council. I think the first thing that my charge would be, in order for us to be able to unify our council, in order to make sure that the culture and the vision that we are going to that we're going to make decisions for moving forward is critical. So what I would like to do is to be able to set up some sort of a meeting, maybe a mini retreat, something for us council, for the new council coming on board to get caught up on a lot of the plans that we are working on, and also understand the culture and the vision that we already set forward. Thanks.
Next question. If you could change one thing that's in our zoning code right now, what would it be and why?
Well, I mentioned, strengthening neighborhoods is very dear to me. I would like to, we have budget constraints. I would love to be able to add more, code enforcement officers in order to try to make our cities comply. So what I would like to do is to try to make sure that we can try to leverage, our resources in order to try to make sure that we do have activities in our code enforcement. I was talking to a citizen about a month or so ago, and he's not aware that there's code enforcement activities going on in this neighborhood. However, we do have PACT officers, and they do let you know about the crime that has been going on within that month. So I think it'd be a good idea for us to be able to have maybe a monthly report of what our code enforcement officers, therefore they can also help them also be appreciated as well. So that's what I would like to do in the zoning code.
If I could change, can I pick 2? If I could change 2 things about our current ordinances, they would both pertain to single-family residential. This is the first thing that comes to mind. Number 1 would be our lot size. As you talk to retiring boomers that want to sell the 2-acre, 4-bedroom house, they actually want to live somewhere where they're in a little bit closer proximity. Years ago, that ordinance was put in place to make sure we didn't have small, low-quality houses. But we can keep quality high as we allow people to live a little closer together in a downtown area, or maybe in a single-family development that would go in. The second thing would be the type. Right now, brick is basically all that's allowed. But if you look around in some of these adorable areas, craftsman style is something that people want to build. People want it to look like South Carolina, New Orleans, different places like that. We have to make sure our ordinances are in place to keep the quality of the products high that contractors are going to be using, not lower quality at all, but allow opportunity for some of the different types and forms.
Do you think that our Main Street / downtown area is healthy and successful? If not, what would you do to change that?
I think that our downtown Main Street has so much more potential than where it is right now. For years, downtown was loved by a small group of our city, but it's important that our downtown is open to a broad range. So when I talk to Dawn Miller about doing a speakeasy and singing downtown, or when we talk about a place for young adults to live and come and want to, when our guys that ride bikes want to come and bike and stop and eat there, we have to have those opportunities in that downtown. And so we have to get ahead of that. We have to talk about infrastructure. We have to talk about the sewer pipes under the ground. We have to talk about the things that get us the downtown we need. And we also have to support local businesses that are already there. The ones that are going ahead and taking a chance on our downtown, they need our support. They need our dollars. We need to spend and invest so we can have the downtown that we all would want.
Well, as policymakers, we have already done a lot within our downtown. We have already put plans in place to be able to upgrade our infrastructure. We have already put plans in place to be able to identify historical landmarks. We have already put a plan in place for us to be able to relocate historical infrastructure properties into our downtown. So we have already done, and this has already been done 5 years of planning. It's actually being enforced right now today. I think it's also key that we do have more tourism within our city, and within the next couple of years, we'll actually start seeing some new activity for us to be able to have within our downtown. So as policymakers, we already put plans in place. We actually are seeing some activity coming up here very soon, and we also have some real future developments that hopefully will be able to increase our activity within our downtown Main Street.
this is a once in office question. Once in office, how would you make sure the communication is open with all members of the community and make it a priority?
Sure. As I mentioned earlier, regardless of how the election turns out, we're going to have 4 new seats in office. Therefore, it's very critical that the people within our community know who is actually in office. So, in office, and once elected, I would love for us to be able to have town hall meetings throughout our community. While I was on, we had a strategic planning meeting, and we started a survey. Part of our survey process was for us to be able to go into every community and for us to be able to have town hall meetings. Within that town hall meeting, we also had surveys. We also checked the pulse on how our performance are from the city council perspective and also what's going on within the community. So what would happen as mayor, I would love to have town hall meetings and be able to engage with you, the citizens of Cedar Hill. Thank you.
I've been thinking about this, and communication is so key and so important. And we can get people to show up at a meeting, but typically I recognize your faces because you've been here before. So how do I reach someone that I've never seen and has never seen me? Through this campaign, I recently did a YouTube video where for $86, 13,000 people that I don't know saw information that I put out there. So I think we really need to look at multimedia as an opportunity. Can we reach our citizens that live in Cedar Hill that don't come to a meeting because they're working late, because they're cooking for their kids at home, whatever those opportunities? I watch staff try so hard to get the message out. I don't think there's not a desire to get the message out. I think we've got to keep trying different ways until we find those opportunities. We will have 7 incredible councilmen and women. They would love to get in front of you, especially the year before they're up for re-election. And so what greater way for you to know information about Highway 67 than through multimedia?
All right, next question is, what specifically makes you uniquely qualified to lead a diverse city whose citizens are politically, ideologically, or religiously different and may not reflect your own?
No, I think that the Bible actually says that we should dwell with one another with understanding. I think it is so key that we show respect to one another, even when we disagree. There was an amazing lady named Miss Alpha Moore in Cedar Crest neighborhood, and she said this: where everyone agrees, it's a clique. Where everyone disagrees, that's a community. And I loved that because she wasn't afraid to disagree. Because I only get better when I open myself up to opposing ideas. And so it's key and important that we listen to one another. It's the only way we're going to get strong and stay strong as a city. It's been my hope to show respect. I think that's even been seen through this recent election, how much I still choose to respect people, even through all the challenges and different things like that. And I think it's going to be key going forward.
Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, I served in different capacities throughout the city of Cedar Hill. As mayor, I have an open door policy. I want to be able to get to know you, what your needs are, what you feel like you're safe, you feel like there's need to be more attention, and that goes across the board. So it goes to our business community, goes towards our citizens, and also goes towards the faith-based community. So I am committed to be able to work with you, and no matter how diverse or how different, I always tell people the more different we are, the more we are the same. So I have an open door policy. Love to be able to engage with you, get to know you a little bit more, and also have the type of lifestyle that we can be able to create here in Cedar Hill that everybody wants. Thank you.
Tell me, we're going through these long passes because there's only 2. All right, next question is, name the top 3 things that you want to change specifically and why.
Sure. Well, first thing, it's going to be public safety. We have the greatest opportunity right now as we just hired a new police chief that he hasn't even been in office for a month. So it'd be great for the new mayor, the new police chief to be able to work side by side to be able to see what areas that we want to be able to improve in. We got a great police and fire department. They're doing well, but there's always room for us to be able to take it to the next level. So that'll be number 1. Number 2, I've always talked about, as we have to have a sustainable, stable budget. we're going to be having challenges come before us, depending upon what the legislator's going to do. Since I've been on the council, I've always heard from our state legislators saying they don't want to take away local control, but it just looks like this year that's changed. They're going to take away local control. So they are going to put a cap within our budget. However, it still gives us opportunity for us to be able to do things. So I would like to be able to work with our finance department and the city manager to be able to see what areas that we can be able to do to try to leverage to make sure that we have a strong, stable budget. And lastly, we talked about economic development. We have
to talk fast. Number one, leadership development for our city council and our boards. I believe they need all the tools that they can to make the decisions that they need to make. Number two, I want to create a Lake Cities Coalition. I believe Cedar Hill needs to have a seat at the table with Grand Prairie and Midlothian and Mansfield and Dallas and Duncanville. And we need to have a voice in what happens in our lake, a strong voice economically and with tourism. And I forgot the third because I was so passionate about that. Number three, sorry. One thing I have worked on is met with the finance department to reevaluate senior exemption. We do have senior exemption on the city side, but I believe we can take a look at that and increase senior exemption, which will give more dollars back in the hands of seniors versus a homestead exemption, which has a larger effect on the budget.
This is kind of a combination question. What specific actions will you take to ensure that our schools are performing well enough to attract new people into our community and attract better teachers in our community?
My three kids have attended 4 of Cedar Hill schools, so I know how incredible the teachers are. I know great things that happen, and I know challenges that we face. I also know that I can be in another city in a whole other town, and they can say, the school's blah, 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 blah. And I tell them, yeah, but you don't know the teachers like I know them. So I know we have challenges that we have to face, and it's our school district. It's ours. Whether we have kids in it or not, we have to commit to it. So whether that's reading Dr. Seuss to kids or championing it in our fields, wherever we are, we have to commit to our district. I believe the key is engaging nonprofits, specifically churches, to pour back into our schools, to invest in them and give back. And let those kids know that we love them and believe them. Let those teachers know we love them and believe them. Cookies go a long way, right? We have them tonight. And making sure people feel valued and supported as they navigate real life challenges.
Well, it has to be collaboration. I see several board trustees in here, and we used to have joint meetings, and I'll tell us that one joint meeting is just not enough. We got to be able to meet more frequently. There's a lot that goes on within the city. I know there's got to be a lot that's going on within the school district. We can also be the school district's biggest ambassador as well, being that we own the city. In addition, my wife and I, we have a graduate of Cedar Hill. I graduated Cedar Hill. My mom and my sister's in the district. I'm vested. I want our school district to be able to do more. So we have an opportunity to select a new superintendent. With that opportunity, that gives us an opportunity for us to be able to push the refresh button and then get involved and then start from day one to be able to see, match different cultures and be able to talk about goals and objectives that we want to accomplish. So that's what I would like to do, is get engaged and have a collaborative effort with the school district.
All right, this question's it's kind of a multiple. What is it? 1 minute. Yeah, 1 minute. If a large Fortune 500 corporation decided that they wanted to open an office in Cedar Hill that created 1,200 jobs, however, they required a conditional use permit, and 25 residents showed up and counseled in opposition, how would you either determine to approve or deny that?
Sure. Being on council for 9 years, I came in when we had a low economy. Now that the economy is booming, we have all kind of applications being submitted to the city. But basically, whenever we had opposition in the past, as council, we work within the citizens. We ask the applicant to go back into the community and for them to be able to, try to close out, any, open items within that applicant and also with the constituents. I've seen it done, several times. I've seen it, be more successful more than it hasn't. So what we would do, what I would like to continue is, again, to be able to maintain that small town feel, be able to work within our citizens, especially around that area. You know, a lot of our challenges is we have public hearings and just that area knows about it, but we got to be able to communicate beyond the borders of that public hearing so be able to get more involvement. So that's what I would like to do, is make sure the applicant meet with the citizens before they come to council. Thanks.
Such a loaded question, right? There's so many factors involved. That was 2 of them. But many times if there's 25 in opposition, there may be 45 in favor speaking there in that moment. But that's great input, and we may have received emails prior to that. But what we have to look at is the full scope. What's the impact? What's the cost? What is the cost of the infrastructure it's going to take to get that business here? What's the benefits of that beyond just the jobs? What tax base is that going to bring in? All of that comprehensively. And as Councilman Mason said, we have to then lead with courage and make a decision that is based on what is good for the city. And meanwhile, engaging with citizens that have concerns, asking that developer to go back and engage with those citizens. So hopefully we can alleviate some of the concerns.
How will you, as mayor, increase transparency within the city government?
I mentioned multimedia communication, but I remembered my 3rd point and it went back to this, so I'm glad. Thank you for the question. I think it's important that not only do we do things well, but that we do all we can to communicate that we're doing things well. And particularly when it comes to budget. When you take a look at the Cedar Hill or a city's budget, it's huge and it's very overwhelming. So it's important that we figure out how do we take what we believe is a good budget, but communicate it. And so I'd like to even propose that we have basically a budget communication committee that takes a look at how this budget is read. Is it explaining what it needs to explain? Is it answering the questions that it needs to answer? Because I can speak one language all day long, but if you listen in a different language or I'm not speaking your language, then I'm not being effective. So I believe that our city does its best to be transparent, but if we're still not speaking the language, then we have to continue to try new opportunities.
You know, we have an opportunity right now, again, coming in with a new mayor, also coming in with a new fire chief. I was part of the 2007-2008 comprehensive plan. Within that comprehensive plan, the council members does not have any say because that committee also submit a plan for the council to adopt. So within the next couple of months, we'll be able to have applications open for any of you. It's probably up to about 50 people want to participate in that comprehensive plan. That comprehensive plan is a blueprint of what we want our city to look like within the next 10 to 20 years. That also gives an opportunity for us to not only look at traffic congestion, but also gives us a chance to look at parks. Also gives us a chance to be able to look at the things beyond within our boards. So as we talk about transparency, it gives an opportunity for us to be able to work in unison, and transparency will be given as you will be the one to be able to tell the council what plan to be able to adopt for our future. Thank you.
All right. As mayor, how would you work with the city together to support scholars and individuals who have disabilities within our community?
Okay, can you ask the question?
Sure. Yeah. How would you, as the mayor, along with the city, work to support scholars and individuals with disabilities?
Sure. Well, I guess part of our planning and zoning plan, for example, we just put in a new park in Virginia Weaver Park. That also helped us be able to increase the abilities of special needs and also for ADA requirements. So any infrastructure that's part of the city facility, those measures are already in place. I'm guessing was the question.
Councilman Mason mentioned Virginia Weaver, which is a great point, and that awareness was brought to us by a young lady whose brother was special needs and needed that special attention. So it allowed us to address that issue, and that's why it's so important that we have that public input. Another example would be we had an amazing lady who was getting around on around town on a scooter, but we realized that some of our curbs had not been improved to be ADA compliant, so she was literally unable to get to the places she needed to get. That's what council does, that's what staff does, they listen, and then we go back to the table and we take a look at what needs and what things need to be changed. And so as citizens bring concerns, that helps us be aware of the issues that we need to address.
As mayor, what would you do to specifically address small, minority, and women-owned businesses?
To my husband's chagrin, I really spend a lot of money. That's what no, I'm kidding. But I think, as we mentioned earlier, there was an incredible WMB workshop last Tuesday that both of us attended. It was very informative because it laid out for small businesses how to do business with the city. It just didn't give a vague promise that we want to, which we have for years. All the big projects the city has done have maintained a good faith at WMB. But it was fascinating to see staff help small businesses, local businesses, and as we got to meet them afterwards, they said, I live in Cedar Hill, I'm an architect. I live in Cedar Hill, I'm a contractor. I live in Cedar Hill, I do this. And it was so empowering to know that we were engaging with our citizens and helping them understand the processes of working with the government, how bids are done, depending on the sizes. And so I think it's important that they do their job, but we have to do ours. We have to eat, we have to shop, we have to invest in our local businesses.
I am proud to talk about this. This is actually one of my initiatives as being on the council. I met with staff, and I mentioned that we have a bond program that's coming, and I want us to be able to have some measure, some policy in place for us to be able to recognize our minority businesses. So therefore, I worked with the North Central Texas Regional Certification Agency, and I also brought them in, and we actually had meetings to be able to see what could this look like, and how can we also be successful. Given the opportunity, back in last quarter of 2018, the council actually adopted policy for us to be able to have MWBEs. So this past Tuesday was monumental to me because we actually passed something and we actually had a workshop to be able to learn how to be able to do business for actual real-life projects within the city of Cedar Hill. So I am proud to be able to say that we have policy and we recognize minority women businesses, and also they can most have policies for subcontracting. We're going to recognize these opportunities for primes. Thank you.
Well, we did it. This is the last question. And since Jamie started, you'll have that question. The last one. All right. What is your one biggest takeaway that you can share this evening?
Sure. I really love the attendance that we have here in this room. This really shows that we are engaged, and it is critical to find who's going to be our next mayor, and also our leaders on the city council and also the school board. So I really appreciate you for also staying here. I know it's past the time that was advertised to be able to hear from us. But as your mayoral candidate, I would love to be able to come and work for, be your mayor. I'd love to be able to engage with you. I'd love to be able to continue the unfinished business that we have also started within the city. We have great opportunities. Again, mentioned we've got a new police chief, trying to have a comprehensive plan. We also have measures. I would also like to say, I've served on the Texas Municipal League. That's a state board. I was representative of our city. I've also sat on the North Central Texas Call Board for Preparedness. So whenever we have disasters and storms, our city is ready and prepared. I've served on that board as well. I'll continue to be your biggest ambassador. Please vote for me, Steve Mason, Mayor of Cedar Hill. Please.
This has been such a learning experience. Of course, I've learned about myself. I've learned so much. I'm so proud of this city. I'm so grateful to its citizens. I'm grateful for how we navigate this challenge. And as I talk to other candidates in other cities and I hear some of the things they have to go through, my heart breaks because Cedar Hill is truly an amazing place. And so I love it with all my heart. I'm fiercely protective of it, of its people, and it's an honor to get to serve the city in any capacity. I hope to be able to bring my influence and serve it as its mayor, and that would be what I'm asking for tonight.
tell you, moderating is one thing. Answering the questions is not easy. If you would like to meet with them, please don't let it stop here. And remember, as we walk out the doors, we're not walking out as opposition with one another. We're walking out as